And then one more dimension of that is that as the boy gets to boy-girl age, if he begins to sense that he's heterosexual, he notices that the girls are far more interested in going out with the quarterbacks or the student body presidents or the performer type boys that are sort of honored in the school system and in life in general. And so he begins to start withdrawing and fearing that he can't attract those girls, especially the ones he's most biologically addicted to, beautiful ones, the cheerleader types. He starts withdrawing into porn. And a little bit of porn is not a huge issue, but the porn basically is based on the dopamine increasing with each new stimulus that you have. And so as he gets addicted to that dopamine, he begins to get addicted to only being able to be stimulated when the risk-taking is higher and higher. Yes. So finally he succeeds in one woman being able to come over to his house and be sexual with her, but he's so unable to be turned on just by the mere maybe light touch of a hand, or turned on by just being fascinated by what she's saying in the interaction, or some combination of the drama of being with her combined with a little bit of touch. He's so used to a huge amount of stimulus that occurs, and when he gets to be trusting of her a little bit, he says, can you be this way? Can you do this? Can you act this way? And she feels like just some piece of object that is being traded in for the porn. Eventually gets disgusted with him, withdraws, and he begins to say, all right, this convinces me I am as worthless as I thought I was. And the only thing that will give me satisfaction is back to the porn. And what became a little bit of an addiction becomes more of an addiction, even as he's also becoming simultaneously frequently addicted to the video games at the same time. And then when the postponed gratification is not taught, the slippery slope down the hill to shame, self-disgust, and fear that if he tries anything, he's just going to prove to himself and everybody around him that he's one more failure. And the degree to which he articulates the desire to try something is the announcement publicly to a group of people that he's pretty much going to say, today I'm going to try this, and tomorrow it's going to be a failure, until he becomes enormously shamed. In worst case scenarios, this can lead to such depression that it creates a desire to commit suicide. And in the very worst case scenarios, it's a belief, I believe, we see in school shooters.
Yeah, well, that brews resentment. Absolutely, man. That brews resentment and anger like nothing else.
And who will they get resentment and anger about? Who are the people that have rejected him? It's the classmates, it's the teachers. Nobody appreciates that sweet sensitivity inside of him, and sees him. Well, I am so angry at that, and one day I have a desperate need to get their attention and say, I count, I matter, pay attention to me. And in worst case scenarios, only a very small percentage, but in worst case scenarios, you can understand the school shooting emerging from that.
Yeah, well, for every kid who goes and shoots up a school, there's 1,000 who are fantasizing in a direction that's headed that way. Exactly. And some of that's at the beginning of that, it's something like, well, I'm very angry at people because they don't see the value in me. But if they get to the point where they're doing something like fantasizing extreme violence, they're so far past that even, they think they've developed a real hatred for everything, and a wish to see it obliterated. And that's, well, obviously that's the most terrible of the terrible outcomes that might be generated.